If you're shopping for a Mini Cooper, you pretty much already know that you want it. You love the styling, you love the faint notion of heritage, even though there are better, more affordable, fun-to-drive, sporty, compact, front-wheel drive vehicles out there. But you want this one. So let's see what the 2022 Mini Cooper is all about. This one here, it's the John Cooper Works version, and you can get it with a manual gearbox. This one doesn't have that though. So, outside first. It's a Mini Cooper, you know what you're looking at. But the automaker did update it a bit for 2022. You've got a new grille, new bumpers, and some fresh wheel designs. The overall shape is still quite appealing, but that mouth on the front makes this look a bit odd. Here's a nerdy opinion for you. The front end reminds me of the Vogon Army from the end of the Hitchhiker's Guide film from 2005, so please, no poetry. Inside, yes, it's a bit cramped, but it's a Mini. We can't fault it for that. It's a fun, small ride, so there are no surprises in here. But the 8.8-inch touchscreen is standard and has a new display interface. The gauge cluster has gone digital too, and looks like the one straight from the electric Mini. As for power, this is one of the more entertaining ones, as we said, outside of the full-on GP version. Under the hood is a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder engine making 228 horsepower and 236 pound-feet of torque. Opt for the convertible and you only get an 8-speed auto. Stick to the coupe though, and you can choose between that or a 6-speed manual gearbox. Yeah, it's a little cramped in here, but the seat itself is comfortable. I mean, my head's not hitting the ceiling, but it's not far from it. It'd be nice if there was no sunroof, but that's not what we're talking about right now. I want to talk about how this thing drives. And it's fun. You get into a Mini, any Cooper, even a base Cooper, and it's still fun. These cars are a lot of fun for front-wheel drive sporty vehicles. Everybody's like, you need rear-wheel drive. If you do front-wheel drive right, you can have tons of fun. The way to do it correctly is to not send too much power through the front wheels, unless you have some magical differentials up there, like in the Honda Civic Type R. But the classic formula is a healthy amount of horsepower and good steering. You don't want the tires and the engine to overwhelm the steering. And it doesn't. And it makes fun noises. 228 horsepower is great. It sounds good. This has the stainless exhaust system. It's nice to drive, and it brakes well because the brakes don't have to work that hard, relatively speaking. This one has 4-piston Brembos up front, which is, Brembos are the gold standard for brakes in the industry. The seats are good. I am comfortable at 6'3", 205 pounds. The screens are easy to read. I love that the gauge cluster in front of me almost has a matte finish to it instead of a glossy finish to it. So it shouldn't really reflect or shine too many things in your eyes. You're just gonna see the information you need to see. That is a smart touch. I really like that. And then the center screen is really bright and easy to see as well. Even though it does have the glossy finish, it's less important for this to not reflect. But as it sits and the angle it's sitting in, I'm not really getting a lot of reflections off it. It just looks really nice and really sharp. Are there better options out there? Yeah, there are, for the price, especially as tested. This thing is $42,000. This thing's $42,000, and that's where Minis start to fall apart, unless you consider this like a premium sporty front driver, then maybe it makes sense. But when other vehicles exist in this segment that are less expensive and have a little bit more room inside and perform just as well, if not better. It's hard for me to pick this over the Hyundai Veloster N, which I love, the Volkswagen GTI, which is a legendary icon for a reason. I mean, at this price point, we're talking Golf R, we're talking Civic Type R, which are two monsters. Golf R is obviously all-wheel drive, but still, similar category of vehicle. Anytime I drive a Mini, I walk into it with a healthy dose of skepticism, thinking, I'm not gonna like this, it's gonna be overpriced, I'm gonna hate it, it's front-wheel drive, the list goes on. And then I drive it and I immediately start smiling. And that is the magical appeal of pretty much any Mini Cooper, any Mini Countryman, all of it, the whole lineup. Everything inside of it has a very nice BMW-esque build quality to it. The steering wheel feels BMW-ish. I wish it was a little thinner. It's a little too thick rimmed for my liking. I like a slightly thinner steering wheel, but the paddle shifters are on the wheel, which I prefer. Some people like them on the column. I like them on the wheel, so they're always where my hands are when I turn the steering wheel. I also like that the gauge cluster moves as you adjust the steering wheel up and down. There's a little bit of pop there when you downshift. It's not overly done. I think we've reached the apex of the popping exhaust noise, because It gets pretty old after a while, and some people do it a bit too much. Looking at you, Supra, it's a bit overkill. It's not necessary all the time. Yeah, this has a good tone to it. This has a fun noise to it. Would I like to try this with the 6-speed manual? Yeah, of course I would. But the 8-speed does respond quickly enough. This is probably a more fun option on a daily basis over the Insane GP version, which frankly isn't getting very good reviews. I've heard the ride is punishing unnecessarily so, and it doesn't offer as much relative to the competition, especially at the price point they want for that thing. But this one, if you don't go nuts on the options, I think you can have a pretty good vehicle. You do not need the $7,000 package that this one can be had with, that what this one is specifically wearing. Though it does include the adaptive dampers, and that kind of helps smooth out the ride a bit. So it's a tough call. If you can get the manual gearbox and then like just the dampers and the Harman Kardon sound system and make that a smaller package, then we'd be talking. But in terms of just driving enjoyment, this is definitely a fun machine. A base Cooper starts around $24,000. Cooper S will jump up to about $28,000. This John Cooper Works starts at $33,750. But you can jack that price sky high. Any Mini lets you order tons of options. Seriously, it's like ordering a Porsche. But if you want a fun small car and you know you want it to be a Mini, you should jump on a Cooper JCW soon. Specifically if you prefer gas to electric, as the automaker is moving the whole lineup to EVs by the early 2030s. So you still have time, but don't wait too long.